If you want to make 10, 15, 20k a month as a high ticket closer, this is the video for you. I am a high ticket closer. I'm consistently closing 40, 50% of the people that I'm speaking to, averaging about 45% right now. I've taken about 700 sales calls over the last 11 months. I've collected about 130k in cash over the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that on a brand new offer. And this video is designed purely to help you with becoming better at high ticket sales. Doesn't matter if you're a high ticket closer, if you're a brand owner, doesn't make a difference. It's not going to be some dopamine filled video with loads of stuff that's popping up on the screen the whole time. Straight value, we're in Miro. I'm going to show you 3 main points that I think are going to help you transform your sales game. And I guarantee you, if you stay till the end of the video, you've got to stick around and watch this and you focus and you actually take this in, you'll close more deals and make more money. I guarantee you. Okay, so let's talk about point number 1. Mastering rapport without being salesy. Okay, building genuine connections with people is the key. Actually having a good conversation, not being cold, high pressure, silent, asking blunt questions, not smiling. I just don't like that approach myself. People want to talk to people. People who are great friends, people who get along really well, have the most open, have the most productive conversations. So you need to be dedicating yourself to really just understanding the person and getting along with them and being interested genuinely. This is what I do really, really well. And I always find that I have 10 out of 10 rapport with people, even the hardest people, even the people who don't want to have a laugh, don't want to have a good chat. I always have something to talk to them about. And it's just about honing in on something, whether it's their location. I'm in the UK, they're in the US usually. So it's oh, where are you based? Oh, cool. Someone was they're in Colorado. I'm oh, Rocky Mountains. Yeah, exactly, the Rocky Mountains. Just that alone. They're where are you? Oh, I'm in Scotland. And they're oh, cool, Scotland's, beautiful. I'm yeah, I know, it's amazing here. It's really cold though. It's just instantly we're having a conversation. I like to get to business, don't get me wrong, but I just think that building a bit of rapport and really kind of dialing into the person rather than just the transaction is one of the keys to actually making the transaction so much easier to get over the line, right? If you're trying to close a deal, people buy from people they like and they don't buy from people they don't like most of the time. So if you want to make them like you, be genuinely interested. It applies to every area of life. It's not rocket science. The second one is collaborative closing, the power of collaborative closing. So you need to position yourself as a trusted advisor rather than a salesperson. Okay, you need to help them figure out what actually makes sense for them and only recommend solutions that you genuinely believe in. You don't want to be on this side of the table and they're on that side of the table. You want to be on the same side of the table, working things out together. When I speak to people, it's almost like a consultation. It's not I am pitching everybody who comes in no matter what. A lot of the time, I will tell people the truth. If I'm hey, I just don't think you're where you need to be right now to get the most out of this, I'll tell them. And people appreciate that, right? I've literally had it where I'm almost dissuading someone to getting started. And they're no, I want to do it anyway. And I'm are you sure? I really think, this wouldn't be the perfect choice for you right now. This wouldn't be the optimal time to start, but, you're welcome to do it. And they're yeah, no, let's do it. And I'm all right, cool, no worries. Here's the payment link. So you need to just visualize the problems that they're having as your problems together as a unit, and you are sat on this call to solve them and to figure out whether or not what it is that you're selling can actually solve it. And if it genuinely can, it should be really easy to sell because there's no need to do magic sales tactics. It's yeah, this will work. This is why. If you have case studies, if you have social proof, if you have whatever, it's just yeah, 100%. Now we've talked about your problem and I understand it. Here you go. This is people we've done that for. This is what we're doing at the moment. This is how our offer solves that. It's oh, cool. Makes sense. Sounds cool, right? And they're yeah, it sounds great. It's that simple. This is not rocket science. It's about being on the same team. It ties into rapport. If you can build great rapport with them, then you can now collaborate with them. You don't have to close them. You don't have to wrestle them. You don't have to bend someone's arm behind the back, right? It can just be let's figure out if this makes sense. And if it does, amazing. And if not, no worries. That's what I say at the start of every single sales call. The way I usually structure this conversation, this is what I say. The way I usually structure this conversation is I'm going to ask you some questions about your business and what you're doing right now. And if I genuinely believe that this can work for you, then I will tell you exactly what that would look like and we'll take it from there. And that's an honest statement. And that's what it needs to be. And if I genuinely believe it can, we can collaborate together and solve their problem together. Amazing. We're in the money. And finally, deep offer mastery, right? That's going to unlock instant trust with people. You need to understand what you're selling on a deeper level than just like the features, just than like what they get, right? You need to understand how it works, because when you're talking to people, you need to be able to connect the dots on what they're saying, demonstrate real expertise, give them confidence that what you're offering is going to work for them. If you understand what you're selling inside and out, it's just going to like so easy to sell, because they will say something and you're just like, yeah, you know, like this XYZ response, and they're like, yeah, that makes sense. Because it makes sense. Because it actually makes sense. Because you understand. So what you're talking about makes sense, instead of just spitting something random out that you don't understand. Okay? And this comes in time, right? You're not just going to understand your offer like that, but, you know, you should be deep diving what you're selling. If you're a salesperson, obviously if you're the brand owner, if you're actually running the business, you can understand it inside and out, I hope. But if you're a high ticket closer, you might not have this instant knowledge, and you need to get it. I did that by watching like the brand I work in now. We have a YouTube channel. I watched pretty much all of the videos. We have a Twitter. I pretty much read all the tweets. I listened to loads of call recordings. I read all the case studies 10 times, understood it inside and out, before I really started like, okay, getting it. And now when I'm on a call, it's really easy to close people, because they'll say some stuff to me and I'll say all the right things because I totally understand the business and how it all works and the economics and just everything inside and out. And they'll be like, yeah, totally agree. They're thinking, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. If I know what I'm talking about, my proof of competence is almost like proving that our product, our service is competent, which is actually disjointed, right? Like, I could seem really competent and the product could be terrible, but just because I seem competent, they're like, oh, this must be a competent thing, a competent service. And it's the other way around is true as well. If you don't seem confident or knowledgeable or competent, they're going to be like, this person doesn't really seem that confident or competent, or they don't really understand this very well. Therefore, their product or service must suck as well. You could have an amazing product, and if you're a closer and you just don't really understand it very well and you can't like show that you know what you're talking about, they're going to think the whole business doesn't know what they're talking about. So it's so important that you understand everything. Just to recap, okay, just so you can understand this, rapport is all about genuinely caring about the person and genuinely being interested. If you can't genuinely be interested in somebody, you're going to have a hard time in sales, or you're going to have a hard time being the creme de la creme of sales. Collaborative closing is all about getting yourself on the same side of the table and really understanding like the problem rather than them. Like, they are not the problem, they have a problem, and you guys can look at it together, or girls. And then finally, understanding your offer. You know, what better way to solve their problem with them than to understand their problem inside and out and how your product solves it. There you go. If you like this video, comment, ask me any questions you like, and we will take it from there.